let your head down. Hey, you gotta keep your head up. Oh, and you can let your head down. Hey.
Well, good evening and welcome to the Carolyn Holt Show. I absolutely love that song. It's so inspirational and it makes you feel good and happy, and you want to think about things that are good not only for yourself but for others. So I welcome you to tonight's show because I'm going to get on you about your potty mouth in the workplace. Yes, that's what I said, potty mouths, profanity. There's a lot of profanity everywhere, but in the workplace, it's becoming more and more commonplace, and maybe it's just a sign of the times. Is that what's going on? But I just want to talk about that tonight because sometimes it can get you into a lot of hot water. But as I was checking, I wanted to know if there are any laws or a system set in place that really deals with profanity in the workplace. And there is not one set of rules. It seems to be that, as for right now, that profanity is a case-by-case basis. And I think that's probably a good thing because it really depends upon what kind of workplace setting you have. There's the traditional workplace, and it's, full of professionalism, and you have a code of ethics, more or less, that you need to go by. And then there's the workplace where it has a lot to do with the people that you interact with and that you interface with. And then there's let me see, what is it called? The casual office. And I think that for now, at least in this time frame, that's where a lot of people are. Most people they fit into the casual office situation, and it's my understanding that in the casual office situation, all kinds of things are allowed and permitted. But language has changed a lot, and if you'd like to call and be a part of tonight's show and talk about the language that you hear, not just around the water cooler, but when you're talking to people face to face, and not only with your coworkers, but sometimes the bosses have a bigger potty mouth than your coworkers do. But if you'd like to participate in tonight's show, you can feel free to call at area code 323-293-3375. Again, that's area code 323-293-3375. Because there's a lot of information out there regarding what your behavior should be in the workplace. And the important aspect is that it is true. Profanity in the workplace is acceptable behavior. It appears that only the people who consider themselves ultra moral have a problem with it. But I think that that's probably a sweeping generalization, because I think a lot of people have issues with profanity in the workplace, but they tolerate certain things to go along, just to get along. And it says that according to Mia Edwards, she's a family psychologist, she says that people swear at work because they swear in real life. Well, I say that is absolutely true. You hear more cussing and carrying on these days than perhaps ever before. But I think there's been a time always in history where people have noticed that the thing that comes out of a person's mouth does not sound great, and it's been since time immemorial. So this is nothing new, but I just think that if it continues to go unchecked, it generally just gets worse. So she says that language is casual because we as a society have become more casual about most things. And I would say that that's true. People are not nearly as uptight as they used to be, and they don't have all these standards that they feel that people should live up to. And as a matter of fact, in the workplace, many times the employer or the owner of the company can be more of the culprit than the workers are. I used to work with a guy who, I guess he was married to someone who basically controlled and scheduled his life, and he really didn't like that, but he didn't know how to handle it, I guess, as a man. And he often acknowledged that he would come to work and just let people have it because he couldn't do all of that cursing and carrying on at home. His wife ruled the nest, and he didn't want to upset his apple cart at home. And so he would come to work and say all manner of things, to the point where it covered more than just the 7 words that George Carlin says that you can't say on radio or television. He really did have a very foul mouth, and it was not gender specific. He didn't have any compunction about cursing women, and not just calling them 1 or 2 names. I mean, a whole line of words. So for the purpose of tonight's show, many of these words I am not going to say. I'm just going to say the F word and the S word, and you can fill in the blank, because his favorite words were the F word, the S word, and the AH word. And like I said, for him, he was not gender specific. And I always thought, my goodness, how do you just look at a woman, and if you're displeased with her work, just start calling her an a-hole? But this guy could do it. So there's a lot of people out there that cursing, it's of great benefit to them. And so with that said, we just have to live with that. But for the purpose of tonight's show, we're going to talk about some of these situations concerning profanity, because it is permitted. You really have to have some issues surrounding profanity in order for it to be a problem. And there's a book called Holy S. It's by Melissa Moore. And she writes that we use many different swear words to express things in life, like aggression. And I guess one of the common phrases in terms of really knowing and understanding aggression is, I'll beat the crap out of you. Now, I didn't know that crap was considered profanity. I really didn't know that. I just thought it was just a word. I didn't know that crap was profane, because I thought crap and damn and darn and hell were, basically safe words, but they do fall under being profane words. And I remember as a child we were taught that they were profane words, but I thought in terms of being an adult that crap was not considered awful, but it is. But it is at least something that we can say in comparison to some of these other words. But not only is there the issue of using profanity for aggression, there's also using the issue of using profanity for being insulting. And I know that this is a fact because it's believed that many people, when they themselves are hurt and they perhaps don't know how to say something, the number one rule of thumb for them is to use insults. And some people can really hurl them with some magnificent words that goes along with being insulting. Another aspect of using profanity is to express one-upsmanship. And I think men do this a lot in their conversation. And it is believed that in the office place that men, they kind of, it doesn't bother them nearly as much as profanity seems to bother women. They kind of expect it, and that's kind of how they chide each other and how they get along, is to say some very choice words to each other. And it's like showing who's the man, with some of these awesome words that they use. Many times, profanity is used as a way to denigrate people and to put them down and to demoralize them and make them feel really bad and low as human beings. I understand that people feel this is an absolute necessary thing to do sometimes, but do you really have to go to denigration? Do you really have to do that? And some people, for them, the answer is yes, because they say that they want people to leave them alone and get up off of them, or is one of the expressions that they use. And one way to do that is to be very denigrating. But on the flip side of that, there are profane words and profanity that's also used to express love. And I'm like, my goodness, that's odd, but somebody was telling me, they said, yeah, it may not be love, but a lot of times when when the male coworkers in the office, they see a female coworker that they like, one of the expressions that they use in terms of love. Now, this is males talking. This is not me. They say, oh man, yeah, man, she's damn fine. So, and as far as they are concerned, damn fine is a great way to show affection for someone. But profanity is also used to show friendship. Now, I know that. I've heard some really interesting expressions in that's relative to someone being someone's friend. So I do know that friendship can be expressed with a lot of F words. So I know that that's true. And the last way they say that profanity is often used is to describe one's experience regarding different things in life. And you hear a lot of people using the F word there as well, that it was effing awesome or effing great or whatever. So I do know that that's true. So it's just part of the culture and the vernacular these days. So, as the young people say, it is what it is. It's also believed that profane words or swear words are the best method we have to communicate the extreme positive or extreme negative emotions. But many view using swear words as a lack of intelligence, according to Rhonda Pruitt, who is a physical therapist. And she says that in her job, she's around a lot of clients all day long, and some of her coworkers, they really use a lot of profanity to help, I guess, kind of change the mood in the office, especially when they're talking to clients. Now, I think that's going a bit far, but she says that they believe that, this can be a motivating thing, and so they have no problem using profanity to say something positive and using profanity to say something negative. So I guess, that makes sense. It can go either way. But I think if you work in close proximity to anybody these days, it's just something that you have to figure out on your own, how you're going to deal with it, because it's not going to go away and it's not going to change just to suit your taste or make you feel comfortable, because it's acceptable in culture. And according to Jeremy Lindbergh, he's a social worker in New York, he says that young people, they swear as a practice. They practice it in their day-to-day existence, and so they think it's absolutely fine to bring it to work, because they're not considering that they are not around their peers. It's who they are. It's what they do. So they don't see any need to change things. But you do have to think about where you are. And where you are often will dictate what you should be saying. So just keep that in mind. And it also says that they bring their college mindset with them to an office setting. And in college, there's a lot of fraternizing and carrying on and trying to prove who's the man or who's the woman. And so but what must be kept in mind is that you're not with your friends and your peers. You're in a setting that probably has a lot of different age groups. So the swearing and the cussing is not what everybody does. There's often the notion that, everybody's doing it. Well, no, there may be one or two people that's not doing it. It may be a lot of people, but not everybody. So you have to keep that in mind when talking. And Jeremy says that they don't think about it much, so to them, it's not a big deal. And I believe that to be true. They're looking at you like, well, what is the problem? What's causing you to not just go with the flow? The other thing that he says is that they never consider who it may offend or the perception that will be formed regarding them. And I know that to be true because they're not thinking along the lines of, this could be offensive because, as the research said earlier, this is just what they do. And in many cases, they may not even be trying to be offensive. It's just part of their culture, and they don't see anything wrong with it, and they feel that you shouldn't see anything wrong with it as well. And he also said that it's generational. Young people work at home or they share a workspace, and they don't consider etiquette. Etiquette is not something that they're thinking about when they are talking. This is just how they talk, and you just have to learn how to tolerate some of it, because they don't change because they're in a work environment. And perhaps the supervisors or the managers, they don't hear them talking every day, so it's no big deal. But the one thing he does recommend that I agree with is when you're in an office and you are a young person, middle-aged person, old person, whomever you might be, you should apply, if your family has standards at your house about what you can say and how you say things, then make the same application when you are in a workplace setting. And I guess one of the key things to remember is don't just drop the F-bomb because you can and make everything about F-ing this and F-ing that. Consider that when you talk, other people are listening and they can hear you, and they would appreciate it if you restrain from so many F-bombs. Well, we have a lot more to talk about regarding profanity in the workplace, and so I want you to stay with me, and we'll be right back.
Mastering math can be big fun for you and everyone. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Sing, play it, Math Maze.
Why not turn math time into fun time with Math Maze, the new game craze? Get yours today at mathmaze.us.
Mom, now you can help your son master math and have big fun. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Sing, play it, Math Maze.
Make sure your child owns the skills necessary for success in high school algebra. Get it now. Mathmaze.us. Mathmaze.us.
Dad, now you can help your daughter play it like you know you oughta. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it, Math Maze.
Math Maze cards contain both Spanish and English. Get yours today at mathmaze.us. That's mathmaze.us.
Wow. Is Pop Staples not the most sexy senior you've ever seen? I just love him. I just say he's just fabulous. On tonight's show, we're talking about profanity in the workplace and how pervasive it is. And unfortunately, there's not much that can be done about it in terms of the legal side unless it borders on harassment or bullying or something along that level. So if you work in an environment where there's lots of profanity and cursing and carrying on and dropping F-bombs all day, well, tape up your ears if you don't want to hear it, because it's probably the culture. The only time you don't hear a lot of that is in situations where it's considered a professional traditional office setting, or that there are clients that interact on a regular basis with office staff. You might have a reprieve then, because you just can't talk any kind of way. At least you're not supposed to just talk any kind of way to the public. But it says that many young people believe that profanity is the great equalizer, because they have jobs that it keeps them confined to a desk. So since they are moving around in their cars, or they're on a bike or whatever, they're out in the open a lot, so there's no need to have any etiquette about what they say or how they say it. And they often let you know that, especially if you decide you want to try and correct them, And I understand that. I do know that on your job every day, the S word is very easy to say because things happen suddenly and you just kind of blurt it out. But it is annoying, on the other hand, if all day long that's what you hear from somebody. Everybody is, I spilled my such and such coffee, and I hurt my finger, and I did this. And that can be a little overwhelming with an office full of unhappy people. And I know that many times our coworkers can drive us to curse and drink because I don't know if you've ever had a situation where you're in an office, especially with a lot of women, and they form cliques, and they have certain people that they interact with on a very favorable basis, but the minute you need something or want something, it's just a big hassle, and they are always trying to give you a hard time about whatever it might be that you need to get your work done, or creating a supportive system. I know those are the kind of people that you do just want to go to the office and just lay them out. But don't take the opportunity to do that just because you can, because it kind of puts you on the same level. Young people, they say that they see a lot of contradiction on the job because they believe people over 60, they abuse profanity just like they do. And a lot of them say that seniors, if you work on a job and they are seniors, that seniors can be mean and abusive with language because they feel that they've lived long enough to be able to say whatever it is that they want to say. And I have to agree with them, because there are many people that say, I've lived long enough to curse you out, and that is exactly what I'm going to do. And so I hear you young people when you say that. There are some seniors that they are not necessarily respectful to you, so I get that. But it says that some people feel that profanity unifies you if everybody in the office is allowed to say whatever they want to say. Well, maybe for some people that might be true, and that's what they need in order to get their day together and to be able to do their job. But I still say it has a place and a time, and it just shouldn't be filled with profanity all day long. And it says that according to a British study, profanity does unite workers because it allows staff to express their feelings better, but it's not a license to be a potty mouth. Well, I think that it's kind of hard many times to create a balance, because if you allow people to go in a certain direction far enough, it's very difficult to try and rein them in when you don't want to hear it. So my personal opinion is that you can say whatever you want to say outside, but in the office, just kind of curb it so that you don't have to have everybody being profane and obscene and cursing. But they talked about this movie, The Wolf of Wall Street, and they said that in this movie there's over 500 deviations of the F word. And I'm like, my goodness, that's a lot of, so I've never seen the movie, The Wolf of Wall Street, but they say that in terms of potty mouth language and profanity and obscenity, this is a classic. But I also remember when George Carlin had his routine about, radio and television and the 7 words that you can't say. Well, apparently you still can't say those words, but television has kind of blurred the lines, and movies, because not only do they say those 7 words, they've added at least 200 more variations of those 7 words to a lot of movies. And sometimes if you go to the movies and you hear the cursing, it's just kind of gratuitous. It's just kind of thrown in. And you go, well, my goodness, why are they saying that in this particular scene? But I guess it's just to kind of make people feel comfortable. But they say that this is kind of called social swearing, and I wasn't familiar with the term social swearing, but social swearing is when profanity is conversational and it's not meant to be harmful. So I guess that's why a lot of people feel that it's certainly okay to curse as loud as you want to and drop however many F-bombs you want to, because for them, everything is conversational, so it shouldn't be a problem. But it says men and profanity is characterized as lively and boisterous behavior with friendly insults. This is kind of how men chide each other and speak to each other and have camaraderie. But the same stuff coming from a woman's mouth is looked at differently. They say that women who use a lot of profanity and have potty mouths, they are considered to be of low moral standing when they swear and cuss. And men, they do tend to tone down their profanity if they work around a lot of women that they respect. But if they don't respect the women, it's almost like they come into their presence and use profanity and a lot of cursing just to get under their skin. So if you're in an office situation, try to get the men to respect you so that they don't just walk into your space and start cursing, because a lot of times it's just to get under your skin and they don't care about the etiquette aspect. There's also the annoyance factor, or annoyance swearing, and this is when coworkers curse to themselves. You know how some people kind of walk around the office and they stub their toe or whatever, and it's the S word all day long, no matter what it is. Oh, they pulled too much tape off the tape reel, and crap, So that's called an annoyance swearing, and many people do this because a lot of people do talk to themselves. So it can be not only annoying, but just downright get on your nerve. But it's because it's considered blowing off steam, that's why it's considered okay to do. But it says that etiquette should be on display at all times because you have to consider all the stakeholders in an office setting, and you should keep your language neutral enough that it isn't offensive to anyone. Also, verbal bullying is not acceptable. And this is when you completely abandon etiquette and use abusive, insulting, and threatening words. If you use these words around subordinates, it says that these abusive words can create a great risk for you, and it can be construed as harassment. And I think that that's what most people don't take into consideration. Because if you have a meeting and say, well, did you say thus and so in this particular situation? Many times they'll go, well, yeah. And not understanding that it can be construed as harassment, and it gets sent to human resources, because harassment is a very serious issue on any job, And you don't want to be accused of harassment because it goes in your personnel file and follows you until it's either cleared up or something, it goes further. So it is important to be mindful about verbal bullying and words that are considered harassment, because it can get you in a lot of trouble, and that's generally the only time that you can be reprimanded for your potty mouth, is if it's seen as threatening. So, be careful there if you tend to walk down that slippery slope, because it can quickly become a human resources matter, and that's not something that you want. And so just kind of take all of that into consideration. But social media, it has a very interesting place, I guess, when it is an interesting place, I meant to say, when it comes to swearing, and it can cause you not to even get a job, because it says that 1 in 5 employers say that they have rejected a candidate based on what they post online. Now, most people feel that that should not be an issue. And I say this, if you have a casual office setting and there's no clear-cut etiquette about what can be said in the office, I have to agree. So you really do have to make some hardline decisions about what you're going to permit if people can, if they're going to be judged by what they post. It says aggressive, offensive language, 75% of the time, employers are going to hold that against you if you are applying for a job. It's the number one reason. Profanity is the number one reason that a candidate can be rejected from getting a job, is if the language is bad. The other reasons for references to drug use, 71% of employers will reject your application if you get on social media and apply and talk about drug use, drug abuse, and all of that. So you want to stay off social media with that. I thought this was pretty entertaining. They said bad spelling and grammar. I don't know what that has to do with profanity. So I guess if you misspell the bad words that you're using, they certainly don't want to hire you. But it says that 56% of employers, they pay that some attention, and it's not a good thing. Drunken photos, that's not a good thing as well. And 47% of employers say that they will reject a candidate based on that. 29% will reject you based on your political views or your activity. So you can't get drunk or high and go on a posting rampage and expect it to turn out good for you. So be mindful of that. General oversharing of content. 29% of employers said that they won't hire people who post too much, and 26% of employers say that they won't hire people who are vain, which I find interesting. They say that if they find too many photos and too many selfies, you can be rejected from ever even being employed. So keep that in mind and take heed, because you may be perfect for a job in terms of your background and your experience, but your potty mouth and your oversharing and your photos and all of that can get you a no. So just be mindful of that. Now, I'm going to go to another break, and when I come back, I'm going to finish up my discussion on profanity in the workplace. Stay with me.
Mastering math can be big fun. Fun for you and everyone. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Sing it, play it, Math Maze.
Why not turn math time into fun time with Math Maze, the new game craze? Get yours today at mathmaze.us.
Mom, now you can help your son master math and have big fun. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Sing it, play it, Math Maze.
Make sure your child owns the skills necessary for success in high school algebra. Get it now. Mathmaze.us. Mathmaze.us.
Dad, now you can help your daughter play it like you know you oughta. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it, Math Maze.
Math Maze cards contain both Spanish and English. Get yours today at mathmaze.us. That's mathmaze.us.
Thank you so much for joining me. This is the Carolyn Holt Show, and tonight we're talking about profanity in the workplace, and I love Aretha Franklin's Respect, because that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. But according to career builders, once you get a job, you have to remember to keep your personal brand appropriate. I know that you young people are very familiar with branding and how branding really dictates, how much money you can make regarding whatever it is that you do. So how the level of professionalism that you use on your job starts that process, so that when you're out representing not only yourself but others, it comes into play. It says, but there's this great debate about employers monitoring your social media activity, while employees feel that it's an invasion of privacy, and employers say that all information is a matter of a public domain. And while you may believe that it is wrong to invade your privacy, if they're offering you a job, at the end of the day, is kind of what they say that wins out, because it's true. It's a matter of public domain, so they can do with information what they choose. But I found these statistics regarding Facebook, and they monitored Facebook over a 3-day period. And these are the main words that's used on Facebook regularly. The S word, it's the most popular one, and it's used 10.5 million times. There are at least 10.5 million posts within a 3-day period every day that has the S word in it. The next most used profane word is the F word. Now, the F word has 9.5 million posts within a 3-day period. So you can see why employers are checking things out on the internet. The third word, which is not so bad, damn. Damn is not one of the worst words that you can say. But it's used at least 6.3 million times. The B word is used 4.5 million times. Wow. And the last most used word, which really surprised me, is the word crap. And crap is used about 2 million times over a 3-day period. And it says that, just remember this, that if you're in a casual office setting, there's generally no real hard and fast rule about profanity. So you can curse and carry on up a storm if you can get away with it. Just remember that if you're in a traditional business setting, that's the one where it's basically a no-no to use profanity. And if you interact a lot with the public, they suggest that you clean up your mouth for that. And it says that 51% of office workers, they swear in the office. 95% curse in front of coworkers. 51% curse in front of the boss. Now, that's pretty bold. 81% of employers think less of employees who curse and bring their professionalism into question. So keep that in mind. 71% see it as a lack of self-control, and 68% see it as a lack of maturity. So if you don't want to be considered immature and unprofessional by your boss, leave your potty mouth at home. But there's a lot of research out there regarding profanity and why it's useful. And psycholinguists, they say that taboo words communicate emotional information more effectively than non-taboo words and allow us to vent anger without getting physical. And that makes a lot of sense. You know, if you don't want to end up having to fight and carry on, sometimes people, that is how they fight, is by using profanity. And so just be mindful about that. It takes out the physical part. But some people, if you curse them long enough, you're going to get into a physical fight. So just know that. But it also says that cursing and profanity helps people to endure pain. It is believed that if you're physically in a lot of pain, say that you've hurt some part of your body and it's really hurting you, they believe that cursing helps to reduce the hurt. So just keep that in mind. I guess that's a good alternative in the moment. If you can't get to the doctor, curse and carry on until you can finally make it there. And it's believed that if you are allowed to have, witty and coarse, casual profanity, it can boost the morale on the job, and it lowers the stress among low-level workers. And I guess what they mean by low-level workers, I hope what they mean is, at the least, is the support staff. I guess this does not apply to the managers and supervisors and executives, but for low-level people, they seem to think that it's okay to have some casual profanity. But I thought this was interesting because to minimize all of that, there's some recommendations by the FBI, of all people, that kind of helps to deal with this issue of profanity in the workplace. And it's what you need to do to get people to like you so that you don't have this issue of your profanity won't ever come into play. It says that we all want to be liked and we all want to be popular at work, at least enough to one day be promoted, enjoy success, and get along with our colleagues. And we all want to make that crucially important first impression into a great one. Networking is too important to fumble. And it says that you may have heard that the art of making friends isn't something you can study, but there are a few tried and true tricks you should employ in the interest of keeping the conversation going, building relationships, and improving your likability. And the first way to help with that is to not be so judgmental. It says, according to Robin Dreeke, the former head of the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Program, this is the number one piece of advice she can give to people hoping to be well-liked. It means listening to your conversation partner, asking questions and soliciting opinions, and then not judging that person's thoughts or feelings. Validate the person you're speaking to, understand where they're coming from and what they want and need. You're showing interest by doing this, and letting people talk about themselves is like handing out candy and cocktails when it comes to likability. So keep that in mind. And it says, let go of your ego. That's the second thing you need to do to help people to like you and minimize some of these things. It says, next time you're talking to someone and you feel the desire to correct them or tell an even better story than the one they just told, don't. Let go of your need to be correct and be in the spotlight. It's the other person's chance to impress for a while. Don't just contradict someone because you can. Save that for situations where it's too important not to do so. It says, admit when you're wrong. It's not enough to just avoid telling people when they're wrong. You should also make a point to admit when you're wrong, apologize, and take steps to fix it. Be sympathetic and contrite, and you'll avoid hard feelings. And it also says criticize with class. If you find you do have to criticize someone, make sure not to make a big show of it. Keep it private, just between the two of you. Don't make a spectacle or example of it in a more public setting. And try throwing in a compliment or two to couch the blows. Be selfless. Once you've got a group of coworkers you're trying to build lasting bonds with, do little things to make them feel important. Say hello to everyone, show appreciation when due, put yourself out to do things for your colleagues, even small things like remembering birthdays or including them in conversations. Take a sincere interest in people, and they will reward you with their intimacy. Don't overdo it. New people are more likely to relax around you if you don't look like you're about to camp out next to them for the foreseeable future. Make it clear that you have to dash imminently, but you want to say hi in the few minutes that you still had at the party. Smile and make eye contact, but don't be too in their face. Be as genuine and pleasant as possible, but remain slightly removed, as though they definitely have your full attention, but you still have to keep one foot out the door. We were just having a conversation about being genuine and sincere. Now, I personally think it's just one of the best attributes you can have, and the poetess agrees with me, so I know I'm right. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed tonight's show regarding profanity in the workplace. And my strongest suggestion is just take a little time and clean it up. You don't have to say everything that comes to mind, because on this show, our endeavor is to help you move every week from misery to magnificence and from subpar to spectacular. Good night, everybody.
Mastering math can be big fun. Fun for you and everyone. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it. Math Maze.
Why not turn math time into fun time with Math Maze, the new game craze? Get yours today at mathmaze.us.
Mom, now you can help your son master math and have big fun. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it. Math Maze.
Make sure your child owns the skills necessary for success in high school algebra. Get it now. Mathmaze.us. Mathmaze.us.
And now you can help your daughter play it like you know you oughta. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it. Math Maze.
MathMaze cards contain both Spanish and English. Get yours today at mathmaze.us. That's mathmaze.us.
He has no right to tell a woman when and where to create one. So will the real men get up? I know you're fed up, ladies, but keep your